Welcome to the Rising Society podcast. I am Shane Kennedy.
I am Nico Galliano, the rejected gentleman.
And Nico, you want to go ahead and introduce our guest?
I would love to, Shane. We are joined by one of our favorite guests. He's been on once before. Once before. So joining us again, and it is Shannon from Seattle.
How you doing?
Yes.
Awesome.
I'm very glad to be here again, man.
And for people that can't see, Nico gave me the is it Nana or Nana?
Nana.
Okay, the Nana coffee mug that says "Live, Love, Spoil."
What makes
And
me happy is
I don't know why he always does that.
That's what you've had the last 31 episodes as well. So
Well, I started noticing a pattern. I noticed that you gave me this one the last time, and I noticed you gave me this one this time.
Yeah.
And I noticed the pattern, and I was like, well, why did I get this? Can't just be a coincidence.
no, man, I did do it on purpose.
That's
Because you're
ridiculous,
clumsy as
dude.
fuck, and if you break that glass, I don't care.
That glass looks indestructible.
Another reason I gave it to you. You're clumsy as fuck.
I'm not clumsy.
I gave Shannon one of my favorite mugs. I gave you my least favorite. Dude, I blew smoke in my eye. I'm dying here.
That's because you're clumsy with smoke.
No, it's because you flustered me. When we fucking started this thing.
You're clumsy with smoke.
You
That's
made
what it
blow
is.
Smoke in my eye. Can we get started on this?
Okay, all right. So first thing we're gonna do. So we're gonna be talking about like Russia and America and all the wild stuff that's going on there. But before that, we're going to do a little discussion about food. Shannon?
Yeah, well, I just had an interesting thought here. I don't know if anybody else thinks this way, so maybe that might just be a little, thing that rubs me the wrong way. But does anybody else open a bag of Lay's or Ruffles and instantly you are met with the smell of what smells like a poot?
Mm-hmm.
It's
One more time? What?
When you open a bag of let's say Ruffles chips, Lay's
I got
chips,
that. What the fuck's a poot?
a fart,
Got it.
methane gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
or
That was
like
my bad.
or like it smells like foot juice.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
That-
that nasty chemical smell
Yeah.
that comes out is disgusting.
I think it has to do with the seed oils, man.
Okay.
I actually agree with him.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
I think it's concentrated seed oils.
Yeah.
And it's because if you ever slide your hand across inside the bag,
Yeah.
like if you ever felt it, there's you can see oil on it. Touch a chip, see all the oils on it.
Yeah.
It's disgusting, man. And ever since I started, as I'm drinking fucking bourbon, but ever since I started, like I said, I'm very lax with it. But for the most part, I've been doing the carnivore diet.
Okay.
I try to.
Yeah.
I don't kill myself with it. I just try to consistently do it as much as possible. I'm telling you, I feel a difference.
Okay.
Not eating processed foods and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I feel phenomenal.
Yeah.
Brain fog's gone. I lost some weight.
Yeah.
I always feel light and energy. Like today, for instance, we were out all day,
Yeah.
so I cheated, and for the first time in 3 months, I had fast food.
Okay.
And I went and I was craving it. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
Craving it. And I went to Taco Bell of all places.
Taco
And-
Hell.
Yes. And I hit the menu hard because I haven't had it in 3 months, right? So I got a Mexican pizza, and I was like, oh, I also want a burrito. So I got one of those 5-layer burritos, and I was like, oh, but they had something new on there and 2 other tacos. And I was like, dude, so I ate 2,800 calories of Taco Bell, right?
Yeah.
I just couldn't stop eating it. And then literally within an hour, sick.
Wow. Yep.
Sick.
Yep.
I could feel it. I felt heavy. I still feel a little bloated.
Yeah.
I felt tired. I was instantly wanted to take a nap.
Yeah.
My energy levels plummeted. It's horrible.
Yeah. You feel totally like the way those potato chips smell. Like shit.
So-
Sorry, can I
poison.
cuss on here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You can cuss.
We don't
Okay.
give a
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Look, Nico does not care.
Okay.
He
Dude.
cusses like a sailor.
No, I don't.
Well, it's good to know that I'm home. I'm in the right
Absolutely.
company.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, I actually think the core to all of what we're kind of like feeling around at is that it's a Gnosticism that's baked into our culture. And what do I mean by that? It's that we elevate the world of knowledge and the world of ideas as being the real thing. And then the tangible, the material, we look at as being somehow like a deception or somehow as being the not important thing. Okay. So think about when you buy a bag of Lay's potato chips, for instance, or when you go to Taco Bell, or when you go to McDonald's, okay? When you go to any of those places, there have been ideas implanted into your mind about that particular category of symbol and food and logo and font and all kinds of things of healthy, skinny, fit people having a great time, cracking open a bag of Doritos or Lay's chips or something and eating the whole damn bag, right? Or like skinny, very, very fit people going to Taco Bell and eating like an entire grande meal. Yeah. Or skinny, fit people, like a skinny, fit family going in and eating a McDonald's meal, and they all look great and they're all having a good time and everything. Right. And the thing is, when you go and consume the Lay's chips, Doritos, McDonald's, Taco Bell, whatever, generally that's not the experience that we have, right?
Yeah, I mean, normally when it's like what Nico said. I mean, after I get through eating fast food, I feel bloated. I feel. I definitely feel guilty, to some degree. Like, it's, if you're someone who
you made a wrong choice.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Especially if you've been trying to really work on your health and stuff like that.
But I think that goes to show how powerful the propaganda has been. That in spite of us knowing that it's bad and in spite of us feeling bad afterward, we're going to go and do it again. Because the idea is that important, is that powerful. So Marxists will use the term, they'll say that we internalize the commands of our oppressors.
Okay.
And in many ways, I think that's what's at play with things like fast food and like the seed oil laden processed foods and a lot of other things. And this will all end up relating to Russia, I can assure you. Yeah. But I think one of the big things that we have to do, especially in the day and time that we live in, and what the gospel will do for us, is we have to shed light on what are the commands that our oppressors have inculcated into our minds. We have to expose them for what they are, and we have to give ourselves the liberty to remove those commands so that we can be who God intends us to be.
Yeah.
And to love one another and love ourselves, and most of all, love God and be reconciled to Him.
Certainly.
So sorry, I just ranted a little.
No. That's a very Catholic thing to say. You know what I mean? And I believe it because I'm also a Catholic. But
all three of us are.
Yeah, all three of us are. But what I was gonna say is, have you guys seen? Like, I don't know if you guys watch stuff on YouTube. Do you guys ever see like that? I don't watch this.
All four people that are watching this are watching it on YouTube.
Right.
No, we got our
Rumble.
We got our
Rumble
Rumble
like
crowd.
the three people on there too. Yeah.
First of all, it's like 17.
Okay.
Like 17 of them.
Okay.
We always have one from Seattle, so I know you watch.
And that's you watching it 17 times.
Yeah.
I even comment.
Yeah,
yes, you did. Yeah.
Yeah. I commented on the Marubo trial.
That's right.
Yeah.
The Marubos.
God bless them.
They still haven't been heard from again. They're not using Instant Messenger.
The only thing I'll say is they're busy. They're very busy. Yeah, very busy.
They got a lot of shit to do. No. Have you seen that like stuff about mukbang and like the ASMR eating stuff?
I think I've heard of it, but tell us about it. I'm not totally sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, so basically it's like these, people. It can be anybody. I want to say this stuff actually started in like Asia, like Korea and Japan. Like, it's basically watching people eat. And
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And the sounds, and they're like slurping the food,
like
and
slurping
crunching and munching and all that.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. Okay, so Americans have basically imitated that. Like they've adopted that same thing, you know, and a lot of people are making money off that. But
what's it called one more time? I apologize.
I think it's called mukbang or
Mukbang?
mukbang.
I've heard it referred to as the acronym, the ASMR.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a sexual thing?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, there's
No, I think it stands for, it's like audio stimulating.
Yeah.
MR.
So they're like,
Yeah.
like octopus and
Yeah.
shit, right?
Yeah.
And they'll eat like fish heads
Yes.
off.
Yeah.
And then the American ones are doing like nasty
Chick-fil-A,
shit. Yeah, like Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
and-
McDonald's.
Well, and it'll be like watching, like very closely recording the sound of popcorn popping.
Yeah.
You know, and,
Yeah.
and showing the visual, like very intense.
weird shit.
But yeah.
Yeah. But see, like what you talk about, like that reinforcement, I think that is exactly what mukbang and ASMR and stuff does. Like, you know, the eating of fried chicken and stuff like that. And it's like they make it sound delicious. You know, they make fast food and food that they know is not good for you seem like it's very proper and okay to eat and consume, right? Because you're being stimulated by the sounds. So you think, oh, well, the sounds, it's like, it tastes good. You know what I mean? And the feeling of it, you know what I mean? Watching somebody eat and stuff. I mean, I don't really know the psychology of it, but I just feel like it reinforces like the whole idea that fast food is okay to consume, you know?
You know, I think what it comes down to is the whole crisis that the Western, particularly the American person, faces in the world today is the only way that they feel real, the only thing that makes them feel alive is when they buy something, when they hear something that's very like stimulating and very like, you know, very detailed, like every kernel of popcorn popping. I know I said that before. But I think that makes them feel very connected from reality, because other than that, the only connection they have to reality is through like just symbols of reality, like like Instagram reels and stuff like that.
Or this other really cool invention that I'm particularly fond of, like music or stuff like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be fucking popcorn popping. What are you talking about?
Well, no. So the thing is, look at, okay, here, this is a perfect example. Okay, look at the difference in the major like centers of European cities versus American cities.
Okay. Yeah.
The major center, like if you're looking at it architecturally, the center of a lot of very old European cities, it's cathedrals, it's churches, and in those places, you know, and then emanating out from there, you have like marketplaces, and you have little winding roads and stuff. In Italy, they call it the Dolce Vida, right? And it's this idea that like all of reality should be appealing to all of your senses. You know, it's this gospel driven way of organizing reality and of experiencing it, that everything should be very enriching and loving and everything like that. When you walk down the street, the street should wind in a way that looks beautiful to you every time that you walk down that winding street, right?
Yeah.
In America, it's all about just being functional.
Right. Efficiency.
Because we believe in our culture here, very, very differently from the way the Europeans used to believe, that the height of the place where you derive your meaning of life is by transacting commerce, by buying something, right? When in the 80s, it was you would go to the mall and buy like name brand clothing. Now you go on Amazon and buy name brand clothing. That's why everything is kind of going to shit. You know, the architecture. But in Europe, the notion was you go to the public park and enjoy the fountain. And if you're like in Italy, you would grab a glass of wine from a wine window, right, in one of the little winding roads, and you would go and sit in the park and enjoy it and just enjoy the fountain, and just enjoy the world around you. enjoy the pretty gardens and all those things, that you're existing in reality. That reality, you're not just made to interpret reality, but reality was made for you to participate in. And that's very different from like the consumer mindset that America has adopted, where our whole notion is the way you feel alive is you go and spend money on
capital of the fucking world.
What?
Milan's the fashion capital of the fucking world.
Yes.
They do more in buying fucking clothing in that one goddamn city than they do anywhere else in America. New York, LA included. Right. That's where those fuckers fly to. What are you talking about? Winding roads. That's trying to blend fucking 3,000 years of fucking architecture into one thing. We're fucking 300 years here, buddy. Yeah, we had to be efficient. They built it out of nothing. You're talking about something that's 500 years worth of fucking trying to blend. The oldest damn thing we have is fucking St. Augustine in America. They have shit over there. Of course, it's a blend.
And St. Augustine is built in the European style, right?
You're talking about centuries. That's my point exactly. You're talking about centuries and centuries of architecture that they were trying to save. Yeah, of course they have nice cathedrals and winding fucking roads. They're building it through damn hills. Over here, they came over. They had to be functional as soon as they started. I don't know if you remember.
Well, I mean,
this was a trading port.
Yeah.
But Nico, what I'm saying is that the way we perceive the world has changed from the time the Europeans are building their cities to the time that Americans are building their cities. And so in America, the height of what it means to be alive, the height of what it means to really derive meaning out of your time here is to go and spend money on shit.
Yeah.
But
it's materialism.
Yeah. But in Europe, there was a there was a sizable element of you go and just enjoy the sights. Like you didn't build a building just only to sell dresses. You built the building to be appealing to the eye.
Well,
and that's the reason that American tourists, they go to Europe and their minds are blown when they go to like an old French city or an old Italian city or an old Spanish city or an old Greek city. It's because those places were not only built to be functional, but first and foremost, they were built to appeal to your sense of sight and your sense of touch and your sense of smell.
Buddy,
and the community.
What were the three things between all those different cultural cities that you started off with?
Christianity.
No. Old. My point exactly, motherfucker.
No.
We don't have that opportunity here. What are you talking? Why do you always got to be such a fucking high in the brow fucking thinker about this stuff? Like, why can't it just be like, what in the actual fuck are you talking about? No one knows. Dude. You try to just pull shit out.
No, I'm not.
In your ass and mash it together.
I think that there is a different mode of concern for Europeans than there are for Americans, right? Like, and I think also that has to do with the fact that
I got ready to rumble. Go ahead.
Dude,
I'm playing devil's advocate today, by the way, just so you know.
Dude, let's do it.
Go ahead, Shane. I apologize.
No, it's okay. I think that when talking about like Europe and everything, we're talking about a lot of history, right? And there's a lot that goes into that. We're talking about the medieval age. We're talking about the Renaissance, right? We're talking about the classical era, right? And America, I think, was trying to mimic all of that in some sense, but it really wasn't able to do that. And I think for a number of reasons. One, because when you think about the people that came here, they came here with nothing. You know what I mean? You talk about like the Puritans.
And they came here with a lot of mental illness too.
And a lot of mental illness.
A lot of mental illness.
Yeah. But
they hated Christmas. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I do think America.
Sorry to all the Puritan bros out there. I don't know if there are any out there.
Are there still Puritans around? I don't.
I have no idea. Well, I think they all became Unitarians, and
Really?
I think the Unitarians became atheists. So I think they're all atheists now.
I don't even know what a Unitarian is.
It's somebody that believes in one God. Like there's no Trinity.
Well, yeah, they're like a half-assed atheist.
Yeah.
Got it.
Generally speaking, like if one generation becomes Unitarian, the next generation is guaranteed to become atheists. Like it's like a guarantee.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guarantee. It's like.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think there was just a different, what was important to Americans, especially like, you're talking about like British Americans, was just practicality. You know what I mean? They just want to survive, and they don't want to be destroyed by the native population that's coming out of nowhere. Well, they're not coming out of nowhere. I shouldn't say that. But, these are groups of people that they did not have contact with. You know what I mean? And suddenly now they're having to to live together with people that don't share their culture. And so how do you maintain your culture and your survival living around people that don't share that, right? And you're living in ecologically, you're living in an area that is different from the one you came from, right? Like you can't, you have to figure out how to grow corn and squash, and other things like that, right? And then, you're trying your best to mimic the European way of life, like we're going to build universities like Harvard, Princeton, Yale, right? These are going to be very theologically inclined institutions, right? That did become counter, competitive to places like Oxford and Cambridge. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily think that America was like, in a way, I don't want to say it was spearheaded with the wrong intentions. I think they had they meant good.
I think they had the right intentions, but the wrong framework.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah. In some ways, yeah, it does. But I do see I do see Nico's point is that, they had a longer time to develop certain things that they actually cared about, right? Like, what really mattered to them. The whole idea of a monastery, right? That wasn't an American thing. Even when the Spanish came over here and the French came over here, they weren't like building monasteries.
Well,
or am I wrong? I don't know.
I would counter that because look at the entire Southwest, California, the entire West Coast. They're all named after the Spanish missions, right?
Okay.
And a lot of that was driven by Dominicans, whose argument was that Christianity is spreading the culture, spreading the technology, the way of life, and all that kind of stuff. So, and Benedictines too, and they didn't see
the Jesuits.
Yeah, and the Jesuits, the Jesuits get a bad rap, but
Right.
I mean, I think in recent times, a lot of the criticism is fair.
Yeah.
But they get a bad rap in history, and they really don't deserve it.
Okay.
But I think to kind of round all this stuff off, and then we can move into Russia.
Okay.
Is that people, the thing that the European, so like you look at these Venetian merchants, for instance, you look at French merchants, you look at Spanish merchants, Greek merchants, you look at the entire like Mediterranean, their whole notion of kind of like the ultimate worldview or philosophical trump card, if you want to call it that. And I'm not talking about the presidential candidate. I'm talking about like a card that kind of
no pun intended,
that dominates the other ones.
Yeah.
Kind of like the most important virtue would be the good, the true, and the beautiful.
Okay.
Now, in in America, for the most part, there are exceptions, but for the most part, the thing that matters the most is expedience, productivity, and economic efficiency.
Okay.
Those are the things that matter more than anything. Beauty doesn't really matter that much. The good doesn't really matter that much, and the true doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, that's
Now.
okay. Can I just interject there?
So here, one last thing.
Okay.
When you look at a typical European city, or you look at cities in North America that were settled by the Spanish and by the French, what's the major building in the city?
The church.
It's a church. That's right.
Or the cathedral.
Cathedral, church, whatever. When you look at an English settlement, what is the biggest structure in the city?
The town hall.
It's the courthouse,
Oh,
right?
that's a good point. I mean,
So
he's got a good point.
That to me,
Is it really the courthouse?
yes, always.
Wow.
The city we're in right now, I'm not going to disclose it because I don't want for you to be doxxed.
What does that mean?
Oh, doxing?
Yeah.
Like revealing private information or something like that.
Yeah, okay. Boom.
But
Settled.
the biggest structure in the downtown area of the city that we are currently in right now is a courthouse, because this city was fundamentally founded by English people, not by Spanish, not by the French, not by any Mediterraneans.
Yeah.
So I guess the thing I want to kind of round this off with.
Well, let me ask you a question though.
Yeah.
Because okay, you say for the British, for the Anglophile world in America, the nucleus of the city is the courthouse. But if you look at every today, if you look at every state in the country, they've mimicked that too. Like every state is sort of the courthouse is at the center. Like Seattle, where I come from, it is the courthouse.
Well, I would argue, okay, symbolically, what are the biggest buildings? What tenants occupy the biggest buildings in downtown Seattle?
You want me to tell you the truth?
Like maybe the top two or top three. Just like, what would your assumption be?
I'll give you the top two,
Okay.
top three. People who have severe mental illness.
No.
okay.
I'm talking I'm talking like organizations,
Oh,
like businesses, organizations.
yeah. Amazon.
Who else? Microsoft.
Well, I think Microsoft is located in a place called Redmond.
Okay.
But, I see your point.
So,
Yeah.
and what I would argue is if you go and look at any major building in America, or if you go look at the skyline.
Oh, no. You're right. It's the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Okay.
In downtown. Yes.
So what I would contend is if you look at modern America today, it is not courthouses that make up the biggest buildings in the skyline. It's generally speaking large multinational companies, banks and insurance companies.
Okay.
If you go look at any major skyline in the United States, that's who dominates that skyline.
Yeah.
And also, too, you look around the world, that's who dominates the skyline. It's major multinational companies,
Yeah.
and then usurers. You know,
Okay.
those are the major people.
Yeah.
Those are the organizations that our society has deemed are are ethically dominant. You know, and that our culture says should have the most influence over our culture and society. You know?
I mean, I don't even think it's ethically. I think we just we're not even conscious of it anymore.
Well, so what I would say is, I think all three of us would disagree with that ethical framework, but what I would argue is that the ethical framework that emanates from our culture would dictate that those organizations are right to dominate our culture and dominate our skyline.
Yeah, because they're the
our
ones
skylines.
with monetary power.
So when you compare that to like the top 10 tourist destinations in Europe, where every American tourist wants to go before they die, like it's part of their bucket list. They want to go to like Santorini in Greece. They want to go to like different neighborhoods in Rome. They want to go to like Barcelona, and they want to go to all these different places.
Paris.
Well, what's unique about those places, and what I would argue is, you're not going to find skyscrapers that are occupied by multinational companies and banks and insurance companies. What you're going to find is buildings that are taller than people, but are not so tall that they would look like the Tower of Babel.
Right.
You know,
And they're aesthetically pleasing.
They're aesthetically, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
These buildings are like works of art, especially in Italy where they call it the Dolce
you're
Vita.
just talking in circles.
No, I'm not, because what I'm articulating are two different types of worldviews.
No, you're not. Those are cities that were metropolises back in their day. They are a head nod to past glories. I could go to fucking Paris, France, go 2 cities over to the next biggest city and find those same goddamn skyscrapers and fucking corporate buildings you're talking about.
No.
You are taking literally metropolis cities, Paris, fucking London, Rome. You're taking glories of past things where that was the architectural style. Those were the important things at that time.
Okay.
They've been frozen. I could go 2 cities over fucking Rome and find those same goddamn skyscraper buildings.
Okay,
That's
question.
not unique to those fucking people. It's not unique to French people or Italian people. Like, it's not a Western thing. This is a new world order. They all have the same shit. You're picking very specific cities. You don't think that the fucking Italians and the French have the same fucking bullshit we have going on here?
Well, one thing I would interject here is that, okay, Shane, like, the buildings are beautiful, right? They are aesthetically pleasing. But Nico, what I would say is, my caveat is that, like, those buildings, as aesthetically pleasing as they are, and as much as they are meant to glorify God, nobody actually goes there for those reasons anymore. Like, to those buildings. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, when you think about Notre Dame, or Le Sacré-Cœur, right? Nobody
I could say it like that.
Nobody goes to those places to actually worship anymore, right? Mm-hmm. They go just to. It's like a museum. You know, it's like what you were saying, Nico. It's like frozen in time. It has no moral or real religious value, and this is I think that is a real concern.
You want to know why I would argue that it doesn't have any real cultural value anymore? Is because most people in the West, they don't give a shit about God.
I believe that.
Okay. Finally, welcome to the fucking club. What was the first 30 minutes of this podcast where you just were like talking out your ass?
So no.
Do us a favor, turn back around so we can see your head instead of your ass. He was just up there flapping.
Okay, so listen. The simple fact here is that we, a very good friend of ours who we know and love, David Granoski,
we're name dropping,
who has the Things Hidden podcast. That's probably just lowered his rank in the algorithm on YouTube and stuff like that. But you know what? I'm sure that's a price he'd be willing to pay.
I'm sure it isn't. I'm positive it's not a price he's willing to pay.
He talks a lot about how we replaced the we replaced the Christian God essentially in the West with the atomic bomb.
Okay.
At the end of World War II, whenever we blew up Nagasaki,
Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah, Nagasaki and Hiroshima, which were the Catholic capitals of Japan.
I just
we actually nailed the cathedral in each one of those 2 cities. Yes. Oh, you didn't know that?
I just learned that.
Is this your trump card?
Wait, can you please qualify what you mean by Trump?
Your definition.
Okay, all right, thank you.
This is your trump card? You think you're going to get me here?
Well,
I was built for 10 rounds. You're only in round 2.
I was just asking you to clarify.
You're looking like you're about to throw in the towel.
No, I was just asking you to clarify. So thank you for clarifying.
I'm a fucking marathon runner, and you look exhausted.
No. So listen. So Hiroshima and Nagasaki were the Catholic capitals of Japan,
right?
And we literally holocausted them. All right, that's literally what we did.
Can I just
remember that word means burnt offering?
Yeah,
right.
It does.
That's literally what that word means.
Yes. So
our last show. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
all 4 of you, thank you for joining us.
17 on Rumble. Love you guys.
And we're gonna be getting to Russia. Let's do it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I lost track about what I was about to say. Wow.
Shane's very good at that.
Japan,
yes, I am.
He steamrolls
Hiroshima, Nagasaki, David, the atomic bomb.
The atomic bomb. Okay. What I wanted to say about Japan is that I think Japan genuinely values Western culture, and it has for a very long time.
I concur.
Right? there's something about Catholicism in Japan. Now I'm just trying this out. I'm just like experiment. I'm just going off the top of my head.
I think I know where you're going, and I've already got an opinion.
Okay.
I'm not going to cut you off.
We fucking know that. Trust me. Go ahead, Shannon.
Well, the thing is that what I know about, like, if you look at all the sort of elites in Japan, and I mean like people that are connected to the royal to the Yamato dynasty in Japan, in this modern, in like from like the 1930s onwards, a lot of the what do you call
Descendants?
a consort, right?
Got it.
Right, the wife of the emperor.
Okay.
They all have a very strong Catholic background. They may not be Catholic themselves, but they have some connection to Catholicism. So I'll give you an example. The previous emperor, Emperor Hirohito's son, his wife, I believe, was from a Catholic background, and his mother did not want him to marry her because, one, she wasn't. I don't think she was of noble birth, and two, she was a Catholic. The current emperor, his wife went to a Catholic school. She was sent there to learn. So I think there is something about the prestige of Catholicism in Japan that really does reach the elites. You know what I mean? They see it as sort of a very prestigious thing. You know what I mean? And I think maybe that's like going all the way back to the introduction of the Jesuits. You know what I mean? The Portuguese Jesuits in Japan.
I've got something I'd like to say about that.
Okay.
Do you have more,
No,
Nico?
I'm sure I'm going to disagree with what you're about to say, but I'll let you talk first.
I actually don't think you're going to disagree, because what I would argue is I don't know a whole lot about Shinto, and I don't know a whole lot about there are a lot of things I don't know
Buddhism.
a whole lot about. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about Buddhism, but I respect Buddhism a lot.
Yeah, I do.
I want to say that. I think so personally, just side note, I think outside of Christianity, I think Buddhism is one of the truest faith traditions at like an anthropological level. You know, as far as like how to treat other people. You know, that's just, so that's really neither here nor there. But
as it correlates in the way to conduct yourself morally, I would say that, I agree.
And you know, I think the thing that I respect about Buddhism so much is that, like Christianity, but obviously not to the same degree, like Christianity, the Buddhists will universalize their moral framework in the same way that the Christians do. And the thing is, I think in the world we're living in now, we think it's normal to articulate the idea that whatever we believe is moral ought to be universal, ought to be universally applied. Well, the thing is, that's not the norm among human beings living today, and that's also not the norm among human beings that have ever lived. The norm among human beings is, I treat my tribe this way, and then it's okay for me to treat people that are not part of my tribe like crap.
Yeah.
It's okay for me to enslave people that are not part of my tribe. It's okay for me to charge interest to people that are not part of my tribe. It's okay for me to rip off people that are not part of my tribe, and so on and so on and so on. Christianity comes along, Jesus comes along and says, you treat everyone the way that you want to be treated, basically. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, Buddhists have a very similar way of understanding the world. Now, they don't have the incarnation. There are a lot of things that they don't have, but I have a lot of respect for them. I really do. And okay, so final thing I want to say is one of the core differences between most Protestants and the Catholic and the Catholic crowd and the Ortho Bros is that a lot of Protestants, not all of them, and I love my Protestant brothers and sisters.
Yes.
I genuinely do.
Yeah.
They're some of my favorite people on the planet. You know, un poquito, por favor, gracias. The Protestants will denounce anything that is not part of their faith tradition immediately. And what a lot of Catholics and Orthodox people will do is they'll say, well, if it's not inherently evil, and if it doesn't automatically contradict what's been revealed in genuine revelation from God or in the gospel, then we don't really have a ground to immediately repudiate it.
Okay.
Maybe it's something that's a part of like a natural revelation kind, sort of thing. If that makes any sense, like, at the very beginning of Romans, I'm not trying to get too theological here, and we are going to get to Russia. Okay. At the very beginning of Romans, Paul says that no one is without excuse.
Okay.
That all of nature acclaims the glory of God, and that not only is it external, but it's also internal, that inside of you inherently know what is right and what is wrong. And when you feel guilt and when you're upset that something has happened, not always, but most of the time, it's because that natural justice has been violated,
Okay.
And so the, man, I just lost my train of thought.
It's because you're just talking straight
Okay.
bullshit.
Okay, here, 1 second. Natural revelation, that...
It violates the natural order.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right. Yeah. So what Catholics and Orthodox will typically say, and some Protestants, but not all, is that if it's not something that's inherently evil, that we can automatically say, like human sacrifice, for instance. If it's not human sacrifice, if it's not glorifying adultery, if it's not glorifying deceit, then it may be something that is okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons that Catholicism probably was acceptable and took off in Japan the way it did is because it didn't automatically repudiate their cultural the cultural traditions that they had that were not inherently evil.
Yeah.
It would have said, okay, like, you have a tradition of marriage. That's not wrong. That's actually good.
Yeah.
That's true.
Right.
So keep doing that. And we even have more insight to add to it. Just building upon what you already know. What's been passed down to you from the garden,
Yeah. I mean, okay. The thing is that, okay, you talked about
flesh it out, Shannon, because
no, I don't, I'm just trying to add on to this. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know that much about Japan except for,
you know a lot more than the two of us combined times 1,000.
No, that's not.
So, yeah.
Don't flatter me, brother.
Well, that's not flattering.
Okay. What I would, the Japanese were very hostile to Christianity in its inception. They did not like Catholics, okay, because they saw how effective they were at, I think, in particular, addressing the needs of people that were not of a higher status, okay, like aristocracy. And also, I think the Japanese nobility were also very wary of Europeans because they brought guns and ammunition, right? And access to the wider world, right? That I think the Japanese saw that as a threat, So initially they were not as welcoming to Catholicism, and they actually persecuted a lot of priests and laymen. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the show on
God
Hulu.
Bless those people, man.
Yes, God bless them. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, they were persecuted very hard. to the point of like, you know, missionaries did not want to go there.
You know, the thing is, they're praying for us right now.
Yeah,
and that is just an amazing thing.
It is.
To think about.
There's actually a really good show on this.
Shogun.
That's. I'm sorry, I meant to say movie. I haven't seen Shogun, the show.
Yeah.
There's a movie, and I want to say it's by. It has Liam Neeson. The little Spider-Man guy that's not Tobey Maguire. Andrew Garfield.
The Last Samurai.
No.
What the fuck
No.
is-
You're thinking about the one with the dude from
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, you're thinking Tom Cruise. Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
You said Tom Cruise though.
No, he said Liam
I just
Neeson.
said Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
And I think the other one's the guy that plays in Star Wars with the fucked up nose. Kylo Ren's character. I don't know his name. Adam Driver.
Okay.
Is that his name? Adam Driver. So the three of them are
Is
in
he
it.
Italian or Spanish?
I want to say, dude, I think he's Italian.
His last name
He
is
might
Driver.
be Spanish, though. His last name is Driver, obviously.
His last name doesn't end with a vowel like yours does.
Thank you, Shane. Sometimes yours is a vowel.
Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
If you're around me, it's a fucking vowel.
Okay.
AEYOU
Anyways, I
and
don't remember the
sometimes
name of the
Y.
movie. I want to say The Mist. I know that's not it, but it's exactly about the same thing. And I want to say the director of that movie was who did
look it
Taxi
up.
Driver?
Was that
Not Scorsese.
Coppola or was that Taxi Driver? De Niro was the star in that, right?
Yeah. But the famous director, and I'm blanking right now because we've had like 20 of these bourbons. Holy shit. Anyways, yeah. So
Shannon had the right idea of just drinking coffee.
yeah, Shannon's over there drinking coffee.
You know.
We're over here getting hammered.
All right,
It's called Silence.
Silence. And who was the director? Famous Italian director, I believe.
I'm pretty sure that he was Italian. Yeah.
Who did Wolf of Wall Street?
What is it? Martin Scorsese?
Scorsese.
Scorsese.
Did it, yeah.
He did it. Yeah, so it
Yes,
was
Martin
Scorsese.
Scorsese.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. High ties.
I mean,
everywhere.
he's the only Italian director that
So
I know. That's
Why
why
are
it
you
popped
taking
that
credit
in
for
my head.
that?
So I was just right. I was just right when I said Scorsese.
You didn't say Scorsese.
Shannon.
Well, you said he's Italian, and then I said, "Is it Martin Scorsese?"
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he said
Scorsese.
Yeah. I fucking knew though, motherfucker. I couldn't think of him.
You didn't know who
Wind
it was.
back when you're fucking editing, and I would have said Martin Scorsese. You'll hear me say it, and if I say it, I get to kick you right in the fucking balls.
Well, you know what?
How
The thing
confident
is,
are you? You can kick me in the balls
okay,
if I didn't
I'm
say it.
110% confident. So what I would do is probably get a cup. All right.
All right. So we're doing this next fucking podcast. Shane's balls are getting kicked. Anyways,
That's not happening.
It's a phenomenal movie, and this goes to exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That was my whole point.
It does, yeah, because they were persecuted. You know what I mean? And but there is another show that I recently watched, and I'm just gonna say this, and I don't know how that's gonna sound, but the two main female characters, man, they are
Dimes.
They are beautiful.
Aesthetically pleasing.
Yes, God bless them.
Amen.
Like that.
But it's called Shogun, and that show is actually a rendition of an older movie from like I think the 1970s called Shogun, and it was about basically an Englishman who had traveled to Japan to basically compete with the Portuguese Jesuits. So, you know, it's like you have an Anglican who is trying to find his way into Japan, right? Because you have to remember, like, Japan had, I don't remember what it's called. I think it might be called the Sengoku period or something like that. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. But Japan had closed itself off.
There's a lot more about Japan than you and I do combined.
He knows twice as much as I do, but together he knows 100 times more than I do because that's how much you bring me down.
That was an insult. I'm gonna kick you twice for that.
No, you know, but yeah, no, Japan had closed its, well,
Okay, so at what period? So when did the Japanese close themselves off? Because I know that's the time period that the Last Samurai takes place, and that's really the only that and Godzilla are the only movies that I've seen regarding Japanese history.
Yeah. Don't quote me on this, but there are names. There's like the Edo period. There's the Nara period. The Nara period is like the 9th century. That's when Buddhism is introduced to Japan. And that is honestly, a lot of scholars would say the Nara period is when Japan actually begins to emerge as a culture of its own, right?
Okay.
Because what they were doing essentially was adopting a lot of the Chinese and Korean culture. I mean, okay, not to get too nerdy with this, but Japan used to be a tributary state to China.
Okay. It was called Sinocentric, right?
Yeah, the Sinosphere.
Yeah.
And so, over time, I think during the Nara period, which is the 9th century, they began to kind of cultivate a culture of their own, right? Okay, so now you get down to when the Jesuits come and stuff like that. I want to say it's the Edo period. I mean, I should just look this up, but I want to say it's the Edo period.
You want to punch it?
When the Jesuits went to Japan?
Yeah.
Right.
Like what period?
Where the fuck were we both looking it up? All right, go ahead, Shane. I'm sorry. Shane drew this shit.
Yeah, I mean, what was I saying?
What do I need to look up?
Are you shitting me? When did the Jesuits go to Japan? Jesuits. When did the Jesuits go to Japan?
When did the Jesuits go to Japan?
Holy shit. All right, Shannon. This is raw. This is
raw.
real. We don't edit this.
Okay. And what?
1549.
Okay. And there's a name for it.
That is not, for the record, that's not when Tom Cruise went to Japan.
Actually, this probably is when Tom Cruise went to Japan. That guy's like 400 years old.
Fact check.
Dude, I'm serious. I think that guy, he does magic.
Okay. So here we go.
You're talking about Scientology?
Don't try to get me canceled, motherfucker. I didn't say that. I implied it.
Well,
I didn't.
The only thing I'm going to say is look up the scientist Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard and the weird magic that they were doing in the Mojave Desert back in the 40s.
Did we talk
weird
about
shit.
it, or did we table that? The difference.
I think we tabled the occult, the relationship between the occult and science.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to get to that one.
Like eventually. 8 months ago.
That's what we should do on our next podcast.
Okay.
With Shannon. Yes.
What was that?
The occult inside. We should have did that tonight. Guess who remembered that? You.
The occult.
That was me.
Okay.
I remember that.
Okay.
Remember he said on the list?
All right, listen, let's start wrapping this Japan stuff up so we can get into Russia. All right,
Shannon
people?
finish.
Can we do that?
I don't know. You're the one that wants to shut the fuck up. Let Shannon talk.
Well, no, I just...
You were there talking about goddamn buildings from 3,000 years ago. You're like, oh, God, dude, in the West, we just swipe credit cards, and over there, they're drinking wine in gardens and shit.
Well, I mean, okay, I do. Okay, so I just want to...
Fuck, man, we had 40 minutes of that shit.
Crazy, dude.
I just want to end with the whole thing of the Edo period, right? So it is the Edo period that Japan became very isolationist. Right. And that was from the period of 1603 to 1868.
Okay.
So that was the time when Japan it closed itself off from the wider world.
Was that when Tom Cruise went there or no?
Actually, you're not
Something
wrong.
like
Towards
that.
the end of it, Japan became very westernized at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
They started letting in.
And then the Meiji restoration started?
Yeah. So
Okay, yeah.
basically, I think what they did is after they had basically consumed all the Western technology, like the clocks, the guns,
Gunpowder.
all that stuff. But what they did, and this is something I think that is almost extraordinary. What they did was they remanufactured those things, and they did it themselves. They didn't, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, you guys brought us guns. Now we're gonna figure out actually how to make guns on our own. Mm-hmm. We're gonna figure out how to make clocks on our own. You know, that is extraordinary because it means that they were very curious, but they didn't want other people to tell them how to do it.
That's actually Shannon's not wrong. That's where a lot of technology in the early 1900s actually came from that competed with, for the sake of this conversation, this is not how you'd phrase this, with Western companies. Mm-hmm. A lot of that, even to this day, that started in the early 1900s, they started developing, like you said, they internalized it, right? They adopted Western culture. They would take Western technologies, all the way from, it doesn't matter, from a clock to a watch to something like that. And they would literally be like, okay, here's going to be our kind of spin on it, if you will.
Yeah.
And to this day, some of those were the greatest for a long time, and still to this day are the greatest forms of that particular unit of whatever they were doing.
Like Nintendo.
You have no, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Like Seiko watches, Grand Seiko, right? Yeah. It's their little spin of it. A lot of different car manufacturers. They
Suntory,
even down
right?
to Scotch.
Yeah.
They have their own turn on Scotch. The Japanese have always, that is one thing I do love about Japanese culture, is they do take these Western things and then they make them Japanese.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because Christianity was able to permeate their culture?
I do believe that.
Okay.
But of course that is, that's what comes with the West, right? Because the West.
And ultimately you would argue that's the core of, if we're going to argue that anything has made the West great or that has distinguished the West from the other cultures of the world, it's the gospel, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I mean,
Okay. I think this is probably a good time for us to migrate over to Russia.
Okay.
Right?
I don't like the way you phrased it, but okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're not literally we're not geographically migrating to Russia. We're
just to be clear, is this going to be like a part 2? Are we separating these? Are we going to kind of go into that?
Let's just keep it all as one.
We raw dog it here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just
like on planes, like you just sit on the plane and you don't use the Wi-Fi. That's called raw dogging.
Yeah.
The fuck are you talking about?
Wow.
I can't believe that you were not.
You masturbate on planes?
Okay, first of all, if you say that
that is frowned upon.
Okay, all right, here. First of all, that will get us deranked on the YouTube algorithm. And second of all, what raw dogging means is that
I know what it means.
No, what it means. No. Google it on Instagram and Google it on Twitter.
You Google it and make sure that the camera can't see your phone, because that will derank us on YouTube.
No, what that means is that you're going on a flight and you are not using Wi-Fi.
Shane, it means you're not wearing a condom.
okay.
Okay, well that might be a definition in certain circumstances. Like you know how if you look at definition
means we're
up
going right into
No,
it.
listen.
We're not taking precautions.
If
we're
you look
hitting
at listen.
It means we're moving on.
If you look
We're
at
hitting
definition up in the dictionary, they'll have like definition 1, 2, and 3. That might be definition number 3 of raw dogging. Definition number 1, though, would be going on a flight and not using the Wi-Fi or watching a movie.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Nico apparently didn't know that.
Well,
either.
I wanted to, since we're going to talk about Russia, I wanted to start with, we were talking about Japan, right? And I wanted to start with the fact that Japan actually fought a war with Russia.
And they whooped their ass.
And
too.
Japan won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was this? Let our audience know.
Was it in 1905?
I believe so. I think it's called the
1905,
Russo-Japanese War.
Russo?
Yeah, Russo-Japanese War.
I'm not familiar with this.
Okay, well, the Japs the Japs crushed.
Okay,
Yeah.
the Russians.
So Raw Dog's gonna get us fucking deranked.
Shane,
but
I don't think he can
I don't
say
think you can
Japs.
say that, dude.
Okay, all right.
Say
All
the,
right.
say the Nihon people.
Okay,
But dude, I like how Shannon was like, Shane. I don't think you
Okay.
can say that. So you're worried about me saying the word
All right, listen.
choking chicken, but the alternative of that.
so first of all, I've never heard you
We're
say
gonna be
that.
here all
No,
night.
no, but
no. First of all, I've never heard you say that. Second of all, I've heard a lot of World War II vets say the Japs.
I'm sure you fucking have.
They did.
Yeah, I'm
They
sure
did.
you did. You know what? I'm sure we've heard a lot of Civil War veterans say certain words, Shane. And you know what? Doesn't make it right.
But no, my question is: were the World War II vets who were opposed to Japanese nationalism were they wrong?
Okay, say that again, because I'm gonna answer you on that. Say that again.
Were the World War II vets who referred to the Japanese as apparently the term I'm not allowed to refer to them as?
Yes,
Were-
because they did that for all Japanese people, not the Japanese government.
You
and
mean like
Japanese
the internment
military.
camps or what?
No, he's saying the word that
okay.
he just said.
Yeah.
That's how they referred to all Japanese people.
Oh, yeah.
Shane, even the ones that lived in America.
Yeah.
We have a word for that, Shane.
Yeah.
It's called fuck Shannon,
But-
help
but-
me out here. I can't remember. Racist.
Well, I guess it would be like a derogatory.
For
term.
the record,
Yeah, derogatory.
okay. Well, for the record, I'm opposed to the internment camps that the
Yeah.
Roosevelt administration threw a bunch of Japs into.
Yeah. Well, I'll do you one further.
Okay.
And this is just my opinion. Now, this may actually get you guys, and I'm sorry for that. And I will do everything I can in my power.
I don't think
to
this
not-
one's going up, Shannon, so
Oh,
shoot
really?
away.
Okay. Well, this is my opinion.
At least we have Rumble, right? Like,
Oh, we can put you got that's
Yeah,
right.
we'll see him on Rumble. YouTube. YouTube.
bye.
Cut the first one. Bye. We'll go edit this in. We'll edit this in at the right before you said all that shit. Ready? YouTube. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
And then put that on the end of that.
Don't worry, I'll put it on Bright News.
There it
Okay.
is. Yes, I
Yeah.
like it.
There we go.
And that was a plug.
Yeah, it
Anyways,
was. That was a plug. I like that.
anyways, what I would say about America's sort of perception about the Second World War when it comes to Japan, we give Japan a lot of, flack for trying to create an empire in Asia, right? But nobody had any problems when the British were doing it. Okay.
Or when the Dutch were doing it
Or when the Dutch were doing it.
in that part of the world.
So now when the Japanese come to sort of claim their destiny, right? We oftentimes look at them as our, like an adversary, and they have they have an immoral character, right?
Japanese?
Yeah.
In modern society?
No, I mean,
No,
back
like
then.
pre World War II.
Yeah.
During
Oh,
World War
I was like,
II.
no one's
Yeah,
threatened
yeah.
by the Japanese. They
No.
sniff panties and make cartoons. No one's worried about that, dude.
They're a totally.
Arigatou
Yeah,
that's the
I
thing,
get
they're-
Sushi Wednesday. No one's like, oh my god, there's a Japanese person coming, shaking like a leaf.
They're
Not
a
one
tot-
time ever. Dude.
They're a neutered civilization, man.
Dude,
They're
yeah.
Yeah,
They're
I mean,
neutered.
I feel very. There's a part of me that does feel a lot of sympathy for, or I empathize. Is that the right word to use?
Empathize yeah.
with the way that they were characterized.
Well,
during the Second World
America invaded them and they lost.
War.
You know.
Yeah, they did.
Well, spoiler alert, Shane. Thanks.
But we also we antagonized the Japanese a lot.
We did
during the Second World War.
Oh, 100%.
Can
right,
we
and-
real quick not throw you guys off because I still don't know what the fuck the Russo-Japan War was.
Yeah, let's.
And I don't even know when that took
All right,
place.
it happened in 1905, and just long story short, Tsar Nicholas II, who was a fairly new czar at the time, had come to power recently, like in the past, maybe within the past 3 to 5 years,
Okay.
and he sent the entire Russian Navy over to go and fight the Japanese in the Pacific.
What was the catalyst?
I think he just wanted to like spread his empire.
He wanted to gain some ground.
Okay, I'll read it to you guys. Okay,
and he even lost Port Arthur and lost like all kinds of shit.
Is this Wikipedia or is this on the site?
It's Wikipedia.
Okay.
It says the Russo-Japanese War was fought between the Japanese Empire and the Russian Empire during 1904 and 1905 over rival imperial ambitions in Manchuria and the Korean Empire. The major theaters of military operations were in the Liaodong Peninsula and Mukden in southern Manchuria, the Yellow Sea, and the Sea of Japan. And then the result here is Japanese victory and the Treaty of Portsmouth. Yeah.
Was that signed in New Hampshire? Or was that signed in the UK?
In Portsmouth Naval Shipyard in the United States.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's in New Hampshire.
Yeah. That
today that's a major naval base.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Is it? Okay. Yeah. It's like currently active.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the
well, thank you for that.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
The Russians in that war lost Port Arthur, which today is a major city, is a major coastal harbor, I believe, in North Korea.
Okay.
Yeah.
North Korea.
The Russians got annihilated in that conflict.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they were. I
think they lost their entire their entire Pacific naval fleet.
Yeah, they could not believe.
I don't know why I'm unfamiliar with that. I'm not educated on that at all.
Yeah.
I never even heard of that.
Yeah. Well, they were devastated by that because they could not believe that a small island. You know what I mean?
This was like early 1900s, like dick measuring in that region.
Yeah.
I don't know why I don't like. Is it? Why the fuck do you guys know about that? Like, what was going on time period wise that would even draw you guys to learn about that?
If you're trying to imply that either one of us are nerds, you're the nerd.
Okay, first of all, we could take a poll right now. Everyone watching, listening.
He's a nerd.
I don't give a fuck if we send carrier pigeons. They know you're the nerd.
I'm not a nerd.
Buddy,
Shannon is not a nerd.
I had to convince you to undo your top button on your shirt, and now you look like a baller.
Well, I mean,
I've always looked like a baller. But
Yeah,
Shannon?
I mean, I think it's okay to be a nerd if you look good doing it.
That's right.
All right, you know what?
Yeah,
I'm a sexy nerd.
there you go.
Dude, you were not a nerd.
You just said I was.
I'm
See, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah,
I'm not even gonna chime in.
This is what I'm trying to talk about. See, the people know this guy is a fucking bullshit
Shannon's the
artist.
smart one.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not.
See, you're mad. You're mad because I went from nerd to a sexy nerd. So now you're like, I revoke your nerd status. How the fuck does that happen,
Because I'm the one that has the power to do that.
buddy? Okay, well here, let me let you in on a little secret. Nerd, not nerd, it doesn't fucking matter. I'm still sexy. You label me whatever the fuck you want and
Bullshit,
put sexy
man.
in front of it.
Look, you're just wrong. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Hey, buddy, why don't you have another sip of your bourbon? Let Shannon and I talk about
Dude,
this.
I'm not doing that. I'm sipping on my coffee.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the Russian thing, like really talking about Russia. Do we want to do that tonight?
Let's do that.
Okay.
I'm
Are
in.
you- okay.
I'm in.
So you guys are
The people are ready, Shannon.
Okay.
The people are.
That's
here.
what they've been waiting for.
Okay.
Is to talk about Russia.
So you guys are awake.
Oh, are you good?
Hell yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm on PST time.
Yeah, and you're drinking a shit
Yeah.
ton of coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're you know what I mean?
Let's do this.
Okay. Can I say one thing? I want to say one thing comparing Russia to the United States at the very beginning, and then we'll kind of riff off of this.
Okay.
So there are only two countries on the planet that have ever had a concept of manifest destiny. Now, manifest destiny, for people that don't know what that is, which I think all three of us know what that is because all three of us are nerds.
No.
I
don't.
So what manifest destiny means is that we had like a heavenly mandate
Okay.
to expand our country from sea to sea.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the way that is oftentimes taught in
Yeah.
like elementary school.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that's probably the simplest way to understand it.
Yeah.
There are only two countries on this planet that have ever had a concept of manifest destiny
Let me
to
guess.
spread from one sea to the other sea. And
Which
what,
ones those are?
What are those two countries?
In my initial, whatever
It's not
it is,
Godzilla.
neurons firing off, I would say it's Great Britain or England, and
Not even them.
really, Germany.
No.
You're gonna
Okay, I
go
know
with Russia
Russia
and
is-
America.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, but Shannon's not wrong. You are.
No, it's Russia and the United States.
Let me manifest your destiny. You're wrong. And here's why you're wrong.
First of all, you didn't manifest my destiny, and second of all, I'm not wrong.
yeah.
It's like you were just wrong on both
You're
counts.
just saying shit now.
No.
Are you sure?
I agree with Shannon.
100%.
Manifest a destiny
So-
between a thing. Definitely the British Empire.
No.
Alexander's Greeks. Absolutely. What are you talking about? Explain yourself.
Let me know when you're ready for me to explain.
Okay. Yeah, I would like you to explain. Hold
Okay.
on. Let me get comfortable for this
All right.
long ass drawn out
You-
wrong explanation.
You ready? You want to have another sip of
I'm
your
going
drink?
to have another
Okay.
sip. Okay,
All
here we
right. So there have only been two countries in history that have ever spanned land wide that have ever been land and that we can categorize as being land and sea empires.
Okay.
Those are the United States and Russia.
Okay.
And those two countries have believed that they've had some kind of a heavenly mandate to span
Yeah.
from one ocean
Yeah.
to another ocean.
Coast to coast.
Right.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, Britain, for instance, when they spread around the world, they wanted to control a bunch of ports. Britain was what you would call a classic sea empire.
Yes. Okay.
Where what Britain did was they controlled ports all around the world. Hong Kong, Singapore.
Well, okay. I mean, I think there were other parts of British imperialism, not just seaports. Like, you think about Africa, right, and Canada and Australia. Like, why did people move there? It was British people moving to places like Rhodesia and Canada and Australia and Kenya to actually create like communities there.
Well,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
To be fair to you, and
They
I'm
were
gonna
also
let you-
dealing with their British mental illness too.
I'm gonna let
by,
you-
by
I'm gonna let
fleeing,
you continue,
know?
but to help Shannon on here, Shannon, in this scenario, what Shane's talking about, we need to pretend that the Vikings and that the British Empire do not exist.
Well, the Vikings and the British were classic sea empires.
yeah,
Now the French, on the other hand, were a classic land empire.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons that, like, when the French colonized the New World, they didn't do it in a way where they were establishing like port cities on the coast. They were generally doing it by expanding their land territory,
Right.
You know,
Along rivers.
Yeah, along rivers and things. Which is very similar to what they would have known in Europe, right? Now, when you look at Britain, that's when you look at Britain, the island of Britannia is not really. There's not a whole lot of landmass there.
Okay.
There are a lot of natural ports. You have a lot of port cities there. So what that did was it kind of adapted them as a civilization and as a culture to going and establishing new port cities around the world, right?
Okay.
They were able to kind of easily train in that skill set, right?
Yeah.
Now, the French, on the other hand, were able to train in the skill set of expanding a land empire.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that you don't really see the French going around the world and establishing port city after port city after port city. You typically see the French going and taking a massive landmass, with like rivers and stuff like that.
Well, okay.
And expanding out the way that the state of France expanded out.
Yeah, I mean, what I would just
Same thing with the Germans.
yeah.
You don't see a whole lot of.
Yeah.
I mean, the Germans and French did have little port cities off the coast of China, but that was kind of the exception to the rule, right?
Yeah.
So the Byzantine Empire and their navy, we're going to pretend that doesn't exist?
Well, the Byzantine Empire was the Eastern Roman Empire.
Correct. We're going to pretend that's not a thing in this scenario?
Well, that's a complicated thing.
It's not that complicated.
So what I would argue is that the Russians were the natural successors of the Byzantine Empire.
The Russians would say that.
Yeah, and
yeah, I'm sure they would.
And
so in your scenario, you're just going to claim the Byzantines as the Russians, and you're just going to take 1,000 years worth of history and say these two countries.
Let me know when you're done.
Yeah, no, I'm done because you're just a fucking crazy person.
Okay, here. So the Byzantine Empire, which is particularly interesting that you would bring that up, they were a land and sea empire.
Yeah,
right?
I'm fucking aware. That's why I brought them up.
Now the Romans. now the Roman Empire was originally a land and sea empire, but then they ended up splitting, and the kind of like the land portions of their empire ended up getting fragmented off, right? Like the freaking Germans who kind of. I'm just gonna say it. The Germans kind of ruined everything.
Yeah, I brought them up on purpose. The Byzantine Empire.
They kind of ruined everything. The Germans ruined everything in the West. Not gonna say anymore. But the Byzantines were a classic land and sea empire, right?
Correct.
The Russians inherited that from Byzantium directly. And what I would argue is the United States inherited its sea ambitions from the British.
Okay.
But that it was able to incorporate land ambitions via its Spanish and French the Spanish and French populations that they ended up incorporating into their population, and just geographically.
Okay, can I ask you a question real quick then, just for my sake, so I
go ahead.
Stay with you. So when the Byzantine and Roman empires separated, the Byzantines kept in with the accordance and law religiously with Rome, or did they start their own place?
Yes and no.
More yes or no?
Well, remember that Byzantium fell in what, like, was it 1453?
Yeah.
Simple question here.
So Byzantium ended up schisming off of the church founded by Jesus Christ in around what, like 1,000 something.
Okay, so my point would be, and then when Rome started decreasing in land size because of barbaric invasions and rot within and self-corruption, and the Byzantine Empire continued to grow, what was their purpose? So what you meant to say at the beginning of this conversation...
I'm tempted to get into architecture here, but I'm not going to.
So at the beginning of your conversation, what you meant to say is, and I disagree with this, but you meant to say there was 3 in history, not just 2.
Bull.
Not Russia and America, because the Byzantines, obviously.
What I would argue is that Russia is the successor of the Byzantine Empire.
And I would argue, who gives a fuck, it's still 3.
What I would argue...
And who is the... Okay, so you meant to say, well, the Romans... Because they were the original ones, and then the Byzantine inherited them, and then the Russians inherited them.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you asking who is the natural successor of the Byzantine Empire?
You made a historical fact that there's only 2 in history that have ever done this. You're wrong.
There are only 2 countries that had
an idea of manifesting.
Yep, that had an understanding of themselves. And that also had the geographical impetus to be able to do it, to be able to expand from one sea to another sea, geographically and via coastlines. In those 2 countries, and I'm not talking about like going and like putting a port on this island and putting a port in this place in the world or whatever. I'm talking about like expanding your contiguous landmass.
Okay.
From one sea to another sea. Those 2 countries are the United States and Russia.
All right, fine. Then in about 5 years, I'm going to say China.
Will you go ahead and admit that you're wrong?
No, I do not admit. I think you're fucking crazy, and you're putting in the most weirdest stipulations to make your statement true.
So that is insane.
I proved you wrong with one fucking thing.
No. So that is insane for you to say that you believe that China would be a sea empire with
largest army and largest navy.
That has nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it. Fucking insane.
I'm just okay.
China. Okay, what blocks China in their west? And if you don't know this, I'll go ahead and give you the answer. I'll go ahead and answer my own question.
I'm sure nothing would. make you fucking happier. Don't break your arm jerking yourself off.
The Gobi Desert,
Okay?
and the frickin' mountain chain that Mount Everest is a part of.
Is China at
It
war with
blocks
India?
China off
Is
from the rest
China-
of Asia.
Is China at war with India
Dude.
right now? To this day, do they still fight over those mountain ranges?
They do.
With the Indians.
So there's a
with the
possibility
Indians.
where they're putting their military down there. When China invades Taiwan, would
Well,
you
okay.
make this statement? Would you say there's 3 countries?
But I
Would
will
you
not
say there's
say
3
that
countries?
I will not say that China's invading Taiwan because they believe in manifest destiny. Boom.
I mean,
You
I
just
guess-
got defeated.
Well, I guess
You don't think they believe in manifest destiny? Are you
I-
out of your
no.
fucking mind?
It's not that I
Are
don't
you
think
out
they
of your
do. I
fucking
know
mind?
that they don't believe in manifest destiny.
Well, I guess-
Shannon, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm saying. So Shane, you're saying that the
Clip it.
Okay.
Dude, you just got crushed. Yes,
I
please
got
clip it.
crushed.
Yeah.
Dude, I've never seen someone make themselves lose. You're like Joe Biden. I'm like Donald Trump.
Oh.
Okay, ready? Here, I'm going to quote it. I would answer the question, but I don't know what he just said, and I don't think he knows what he just said.
This is exactly what happened to Tsar
Do the
Nicholas
Biden.
II whenever he declared war on the Japanese in 1905, and he ended up losing.
Dude, you're doing
Well,
the Biden
And
right now.
and you know what? That was the beginning of Tsar Nicholas II conceding all of his power over to the Bolsheviks.
Oh, you mean the
So-
Byzantines?
So you need to be
You
careful.
mean the Byzantines?
I'm talking about the
conceding all their
successors
power.
to the
Oh, yeah.
Byzantines. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, dude, Shannon, I deal
Yeah.
with this shit every week, so I apologize.
Yeah.
That he's continuing.
All right,
to
Shannon,
here.
here, go ahead and flesh it all out for us.
No, I have nothing to flesh out. First, I thought we were going to talk about the United States envy for Russia.
It's what we're supposed to talk about.
Okay, and then second of all, Shane, are you saying that the term manifest destiny was originally reserved for the United States and Russia?
Yes.
Okay.
And you see what I would argue is when you go and look at the founding people of the Russian Empire and of Russia. I'm talking about like
Who are you talking about?
oh, I'm trying to think of what the guy's name was. It was no, it was the king in Kiev that was converted by. Oh man, it was
You're talking about the first Russian king who adopted Christianity
yeah,
as the religion of.
the guy that Saint Cyril converted. I don't remember what his name was.
And didn't he like marry a Byzantine empress from the?
It was
house
something
of
like that.
Pelagiologos.
Yes.
So interesting.
Well, so okay,
That's a Byzantine
so
empress.
so
Like if only someone knew that.
okay, so this is the thing, the Russians, even to this day, they view themselves as being the new Israel.
Do they?
Yes.
Wow.
Now, when you go and look at the Puritans, again, a lot of mental illness there. Okay, I am not saying that the Puritans were perfect people.
Do you?
Okay.
I just want to say,
But-
you realize that people are listening to this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of Puritans will be unhappy,
Well, no, because
even
no,
though there might be only 2 of them.
no,
left.
because no.
Hopefully they just
No,
realize I
because listen,
disagreed with them this
the
whole time.
ideological successors of the Puritans are atheists now. So for them, it really doesn't matter.
Well,
you know,
we might want to run for the hills.
So the only thing I'm saying is that the Puritans viewed themselves as founding the New Zion.
Okay.
And the Russians viewed themselves as being the New Zion as well, right?
Okay.
And so did the Catholic Church view themselves as being the New Zion.
The Ethiopians saw
Right.
themselves as a new.
And the thing is, that's a really common thing among Christians is for them to view their church as being the New Zion, right?
yeah.
Now, so the thing that I would argue is that not only did you have the kind of like philosophical and theological underpinnings among Russians and among the kind of like, I guess what you would call them is the founding class of America, that they believed that they had this manifest destiny, that they believed that they not only had this ability to expand their influence as a sea and land empire from sea to shining sea, but they believe themselves to be like the new Israel, to be the new Zion.
Right.
You know, they truly believed that they were God's new holy people, and that everybody else were either like not or just posers.
Yeah, they were chosen.
Right.
And other
so
people were not.
So the Russians and the Americans were really unique in the sense that both of them had this. They had a very, very similar view of themselves. Mm-hmm. So that's a view that like the French did not have of themselves. The Germans did not have that of themselves.
Well, wait a minute. Now, the French actually, they didn't believe in manifest destiny. The way, I guess the definition of the term, right? But they did believe that they were anointed by God, right? And when the French Revolution took place, they believed that God had taken, in his divine providence, had taken his anointing away from them. They believed that they had sinned in some way against God. And that is why the king was killed. And that is why they ended up going through the revolution.
Yeah.
Shane couldn't be more wrong. He's trying to take these two. He's trying to take these two and make them like they're.
How in the hell are you drawing that conclusion?
Because so many cultures had this, but he's like, but my stipulation.
So many cultures.
But my stipulation is the difference is that they had a military and a navy that was superior.
No, the thing is,
that's the only difference. Every other
France
goddamn
cannot
culture
span
does.
sea to shining sea, dude.
Oh my god! If he says that one more fucking time, dude, I'm gonna send you out on a fucking boat.
Why didn't you tell that to any of your American history teachers whenever you were in elementary school?
The fucking Egyptians didn't think that they were anointed by the gods to rule over everything
from
else.
sea to shining sea? No.
I think he's trying to restrict it
because he's trying to draw a fucking parallel.
Yeah.
Because that's what I know why he's trying to do it.
Because what I'm saying is that there are only two people ever that have existed that have held the same view of manifest destiny
in modern times.
And those are the Russians and the Americans, and I believe that's why they are mimetic rivals.
What I like is that you're trying to bring it to modern times. And what you're saying is not wrong for today.
Thank you. And you can stop that right there, Shannon.
Hitting there, that's wrong. Dude, you're the guy that threw GPS and the map out the window, and you just guessed the fucking roads and somehow ended up where you were supposed to be. Everything along the way.
Listen.
Like Shannon and I looked at the map and we got there in 30 seconds. It took you 7 days, but you still got there. You're fucking wrong.
We see the problem is you looked it up on MapQuest.
You just ended up at the right conclusion.
The problem is you looked it up on MapQuest and you didn't even get there. So you took the wrong way there and you didn't even get to the destination.
We just agreed with you. We're just saying you're wrong in everything you're explaining.
Well, I disagree with you on that.
I know you do. I can't make you be right.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
I'm already correct, and you are wrong.
You're like, if these... I get what you're saying. And I think Shannon and I both concur.
What's your sober opinion?
My sober opinion is
he agrees with me.
I need to use the bathroom.
Okay.
Can I?
Yeah, absolutely. Shane and I will keep this fucking going. I'm going to let you rant on for a little bit longer.
Okay. So the thing is, and listen, we're not going to cover anything that we haven't covered already. Okay. All right. So look, at the end of the day, the simple fact here is that the Russians and the Americans are the only ones who ever perceive themselves to be the reestablishment of Zion
in modern society.
Yep. And
thank you.
And is the only ones to have the mandate from heaven to expand from sea to shining sea. That's the reason that the Russians were motivated to go and expand through the Ural Mountains, through Siberia, and all the way over into Eastern Asia and to the Pacific Ocean.
But it's simply not true.
But that it's simply true. That's the reason that the Americans were so emphatic about expanding
so how do you
from the little East Coast colonies all the way to the West Coast.
How do you explain people like Alexander and Julius Caesar?
They didn't even live in that same time period, dude.
I know, that's what I'm telling you. But they both thought they were anointed from their gods.
They were trying to turn the Mediterranean. They're trying to turn the Mediterranean into a big ass lake, and they did.
It's the same fucking concept. The world was smaller.
But the thing is, they did not view it as being a responsibility from heaven for them to go from sea to sea. They viewed what they were doing as just asserting power correctly. That's all that they thought they were doing.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
No, it sounds like you are, though.
Maybe fucking they hid behind. Maybe these new cultures are talking about hid behind that concept.
A lot of
it's all about asserting power.
No, dude, listen. A lot of these Roman leaders and stuff that you're referring to, they didn't even believe in the gods.
Either do the people you're fucking talking about.
You're talking about the czars and you're talking about the Puritans, dude. Listen,
dude, it's all about asserting power. What the fuck are you talking about?
No, it's not about asserting power. Listen. The thing is, the czars and the noble class of Russia, they bought into their narrative, right? And the same thing. And look, again, I will concede. Among the Puritans,
they all bought
listen.
into their narrative.
Among the Puritans, there was a lot of mental illness. But
Julius Caesar became a god.
Dude,
Alexander the Great became a god. They all bought into that narrative.
The problem is Julius Caesar didn't actually believe in the gods. The only thing Julius Caesar believed in was power. The Puritans actually believed that they were founding the new Zion. And the Russians actually believed that they were founding the new Zion. So the thing is, those are two rival claims that are not made by any other founders of any other states or countries or civilizations or whatever it is you want to call it. Those are not claims that are made by anybody else.
Because you're taking something so modern. That's what I'm saying. Is that your original statement what you're saying is not wrong. It's your original statement that is false.
When Shannon gets back, what I'm going to ask him is, who was their common scapegoat? The common scapegoat of the Orthodox Russians and the common scapegoat of the Puritans. And what I would argue is, he will probably agree with me that the common scapegoat was the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church claims to be Zion too.
You know what Shannon told me in private? He doesn't even like you.
Well, you know what?
So I can't wait for him to get back.
Well, you know what? Shannon told me in private that he's lied to you about everything, and he actually does not like you.
No, I know that's a lie. I know that's a lie.
How do you know? You don't even know that's a lie.
Yeah, because Shannon texted me just from the bathroom. Actually, I just read it. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. But he can't wait
1 second
to get off this fucking podcast with you.
Dude, Shannon just said that you're full of shit.
Shannon's gonna act like we're done with the podcast and leave, and then he's actually gonna stay. We're gonna hang out longer. He's waiting for you to leave. That's what he told me.
He actually just texted me and said that everything that he texted you is a load of shit.
And then he texted me again and said that he's just lying to you. Because he can hear us.
Let's actually get into Russia.
All right.
So
I think Shannon's back.
So we're gonna talk about manifest. Oh, okay. Oh, there he is. Hey, Shannon. So
these fucking lights set up around here. It's like the sun.
Yeah, so we were just talking about manifest destiny like we were before.
Right.
And Nico was wrong just like it was before.
Okay. Did we pause and then
No, we didn't pause. Okay. Yeah, yes, so you can put that back on. And so all right, so manifest destiny, whether you want to call it an ancient concept or a modern let's just call it a modern concept, all right? Just so that you stop trying to be an antagonistic prick, all right?
As long as you concede, I'm happy.
I'm not conceding anything.
Modern concept, continue.
I'm not conceding anything because I don't have to concede anything.
Concept. Let's continue.
Okay, all right. Let's just take it as a modern concept. What that does is I believe it pits the Americans against the Russians because they're both making the same rival claim. Now, like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, you can look at who is their common scapegoat? Who do both of them hate? They both hate the Catholic Church, right?
Okay.
And the reason is that the Catholic Church also makes the claim that it is the universal Zion, right?
Yes.
So the Russians hate that, and the Puritans, who were the founding class of America, hated that as well.
Yeah.
You know, so the thing is that kind of primordial ooze of America that was injected into our founding.
Okay.
You know, that's kind of like the kind of like narrative ethical framework of the dominant class that founded America, right?
So you're saying like that's the sort of the founding of this country. Part of it was its disdain for Catholicism. Is that what you're saying?
I would argue that was a part of it. I wouldn't argue that was the fundamental principle of it. But
it was a variable.
I would argue that was a pretty big part of it.
Yeah.
That was a common scapegoat, right? Now, the thing is, though, I think big picture, the thing that's most important is, in order for the manifest destiny concept to make sense, that you're mandated from heaven to expand from sea to sea, you have to perceive yourself as being like an essential force for good on the planet, right? Like, and I would argue that the Russians and the Americans culturally view themselves as like an essential force for good on the planet, that no other country really claims.
Okay.
Currently today, maybe there might be a couple of them. Maybe the rising China might be claiming that to a certain degree. But But the Russians universally view themselves, and the Americans view themselves as being the messianic force for good on the planet.
Right.
You know.
See how he conceded on that a little later on.
I'm not conceding shit to you.
Can I give another maybe rival sort of thing here?
Explain this. Yeah.
Okay. The way I
trust you. I don't trust him.
The way I look at this is that the United States is actually a successor to Rome in you know, and the Byzantine Empire, like in all its totality, right? Like symbolically and historically, it is the successor of Western civilization. What I would say its counterpart is Iran, which is the sort of the Sassanid. If you think about the Sassanids, right, the Persian Empire, that is the, you know, so America, you know, is sort of the last vestige of what the Roman Empire would sort of represent in Christendom. You know what I mean? It would go from being Roman to Byzantine Christian to American evangelicalism. You know what I mean? And then I would say, like, if you think about the Persians, you know, it goes from being Zoroastrians to, you know, whatever they are, to Muslims, you know. And I think that because those two civilizations, the Romans and the Sassanids, or the Persians, I think they fought for, like, I mean, a very long time. You know what I mean? And they're trying to sort of maintain an identity, or whatever they think they are, through different channels, you know what I mean? And through different waves of sort of thinking, you know, like religiously and mentally and stuff like that, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, you know, like, you know, Americans, like, we learn about all the Caesars, you know, that existed and everything like that, right? Well, I think that's probably very similar for people living in what they would call the Persian cultural sphere. You know, that includes like Iran, Azerbaijan, you know, like Turkmenistan, you know what I mean? That whole region, even like Afghanistan, even to some extent India, right? Because you have the Mughal Empire. You have the Mughal Empire, right? And all of that. And even, you know, you go down into like Indonesia and Thailand, which a lot of people don't know this. And this is another herringbone I'm gonna throw out. Thailand is actually, people think it has a large Buddhist influence, which it does, but it also has a very strong Persian influence. Administratively, this is a side note, okay, and this is my nerdy stuff coming out.
You're a nerd.
There's a family in Thailand. They're called the Bunags. And this family became strong administrators in the Thai state. The current king of Thailand, the whatever dynasty I think they're called. But this family, they were originally from Persia. They were Muslims. And they married into the royal family in Thailand and converted to Buddhism. A lot of people don't know that. But what I'm trying to say is,
Oh, I didn't fucking know that. Thank you for pointing that out.
I guess my point is that we, Iran and the Islamic world or whatever has sort of permeated the East just as much as, say, the Roman world had and the Byzantine and Christian world has permeated the West. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
I knew that.
And those worlds are clashing. You know what I mean? And they're colliding with one another. Now, when it comes to Russia and the United States, what, in my opinion, if you were to ask me my opinion, I think they would service each other more, a lot better if they would work as allies. Mm. I don't see how, I look at Russia and the United States as being like what we would call like the two lungs of the church. It's like the modern day two lungs of the church. And I don't, it does, they are mimetic. They are rivals in a sense. I mean, because America is a vast land. It has a lot of resources, and Russia has the most amount of resources.
Vaster land with more resources,
yeah, right? Right. It's kind of like a man that likes a woman. You know what I mean? Like, she's got a nice figure and everything. You know what I mean? But she keeps running away from him. Mm-hmm. That's how I look at Russia and the United States. Like, the United States is the guy, and he's like, God damn, she's fine.
Mm. Sounds like she needs freedom. Yeah,
you're right.
She needs some freedom.
And the neocons are more than happy to give her freedom, right?
That's what we do to countries. We look over and we're like, it sounds like they need democracy.
Right.
That's what they need.
Right. So
which apparently Russia has democracy, right?
Hey, I mean, she definitely got a nice figure. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
With a huge pair of balls.
The biggest
pair of balls you ever seen.
Well, that's the reason that Putin always has to
sit the far end of the table. It's because his balls are underneath them. Yeah, that's why he sits all alone down there. Giant balls take up the rest of that table.
With great power comes great responsibility, right?
That's true.
That's right. That's for done.
That's why Putin doesn't travel much.
Is that true?
People come to him. He can't.
Well,
he can't leave the country.
Is, you can't fly his balls separately. Like
the guy's had 13 back surgeries.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
because of
that's a fact.
Is that because of the jiu-jitsu?
No, it's because his fucking back is giving out because of his large testicles.
Yeah,
back strains, back surgeries.
Yeah, he's yeah. Okay. Well, Putin is, he's a.
You see. I think in
influential
the world,
man.
Can you hear my mic?
I cannot.
You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, we can fucking hear you. You're pretty loud.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I don't know what in the hell happened.
Oh God, I hope it's been off the whole fucking time.
Damn it.
Yeah,
okay.
Have you heard him for a while or no?
Well, didn't you just get back here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Was it when I got back you couldn't hear me?
Right.
Okay. So what I
left it off.
So, Shannon, honestly, what I think is going on is there can only be one claim to being the force for good in the world, And I think the rivalry between the Russian elites and the American elites is this question of who is the force for good in the world. Mm-hmm. And I think we should collaborate, but unfortunately our elites and their elites are just such assholes that they won't do it.
You would say that about the Russians too? Mm-hmm. Like they don't want to cooperate.
I think that there's more charity on their end to be willing to collaborate, but I think that...
Well, you know what? This is what I want to kind of... Maybe we can close out with this, because I want to say something about... like, Russia has a very beautiful culture. You know, and I'm not saying that to, like, be, like, you know, hyperbolistic or anything. What has come out of Russia, like literature-wise and culturally and philosophically and everything, has really come out of that place because, one, the Russians had a great aspiration to like pick up things very quickly, right? So if we go back to the Emperor Peter, you know, like you think about St.
Peter the
Petersburg,
Great, right?
Yeah, Peter the Great. His whole intention was to, so you have to remember Russia before that, and don't ask me why I know this. I know this, and I might not even be getting all this right, but you know, before Peter the Great, Russia's cultural influence really came from the East, right? That's why you see a lot of the wearing of the beards and, you know, the clothes.
Persians.
Yeah. I mean, the Persians and the Mongols and, you know what I mean? Because the Mongols actually were forcing the Kievan Rus to pay tributes to them, right? That they had a term called money bags. Do you know this?
No.
Money bags? The Mongols used to call the Russians like money bags. And that's because they would force them to give them tributes, like taxes, to the Mongols.
It's because they just ride in their bareback.
Yeah.
No internet.
No internet.
Yeah.
No internet.
No movies.
Right. But now, when Peter the Great came, he shifted the culture away from the East to the West. Right. And he started to bring in a lot of the intellectuals, the scientists, you know, things like that. Even Western dress code. You know what I mean? He also forced them. He forced the men. I don't necessarily. I'm sorry.
You're right.
I don't think it was the clergy, but he forced them to. He forced the men to shave their beards.
Yes.
Okay, and they could only like wear mustaches or whatever. So, what I would say is Russia has always had this sort of back and forth relationship with the East and the West. You know what I mean? Like at one moment, they don't like the East, right? Because they're being, you know, they have a heavy hand on them. And then, but now what do we see today? America has sort of forced them into a relationship with China. Mm-hmm. You see what I mean? So my thing is like, you know, we should not, as America, we should not be treating Russia as our rival enemy. I don't think that's what they are. I think that they are sort of misunderstood by the West. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of ways, I think the West, that includes European countries, they have a lot of envy for Russia because they, you know, they have a lot of resources, you know, it's a very wealthy nation. It's a very vast nation. And they don't appreciate our whole idea and notion of democracy, you know, or whatever that appears to be, you know. And so I think, and here's the other thing. What's so interesting is that the left doesn't like the whole thing about Russia and Ukraine, right? They support Ukraine, but at the same time, they are, they are all for believing in the Leninist, Stalinist ideas of communism. Isn't that strange?
Yeah.
And then if you look at the right, they're totally against, communism, but they're all for fighting for, against Russia. The left and the right dislike Russia for different reasons, but
That's true.
you know what I mean? But they both have like an animosity towards Russia. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think that's an American thing. Like you go all the way back to the John Quincy Adams administration, and you go back to the to the administration that followed that one, which was the Andrew Jackson administration. There was this whole thing about how Russia was the enemy, all the way back then.
And it continued to the space races. Now it's always been.
I think it's this whole,
which is why I agree with Shane on his final point.
Well, and I do think it's this whole thing of that we view Russia as making the same messianic political claim about the world that we make.
That we do.
And the thing is, you even look at during the years of the Soviet Union where arguably like the Russian Orthodox Church was persecuted, the people that you would call like traditional Russian power players, like during the time of the Russian Empire, were persecuted during the Soviet era and were suppressed. But Russians still, in spite of adopting atheism as their state religion, they still viewed themselves as being this messianic force in the world that was there to kind of drive the world forward, which is the same way that Americans have always viewed themselves. That we believe that we are on the cutting edge of everything, and that we are here to hand down the messages that we've been handed down from God to everybody else. And if we need to, we'll hand it to you at the point of a spear, or with a bullet, or with a barrel shoved down your throat. And the Russians kind of have had that attitude as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think in many ways that's the reason why we find ourselves in this we can't escape this antagonistic relationship that we have with one another, because it's just a part of it's because
sort of enmity.
Yeah, and it's because we're making the same rival claim.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I would agree with that. But I definitely think there are ways around that, which is to, first of all, for Americans and Russians to both be aware of that. Like, we're both being antagonistic towards each other.
But like Shane said, I don't know if you can necessarily. Let's get final thoughts on this. I don't necessarily know if it would be possible to come to a common ground, because I think at the end of the day, that would have to insinuate that one of us is wrong. And I don't know if either can actually do that without losing credibility as that perceived number one power in the world.
Yeah.
Or at least the theological or right choice for that next step as being the number one power in the world.
Yeah.
So let's get final thoughts on that.
Okay.
How do we move forward from henceforth?
Do you want to know my solution?
Of course.
Maybe this might sound funny, but American men need to marry Russian women.
Okay.
I'm a fan of this idea.
Me too.
I mean,
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
No, I think this solves all our problems. I'm in.
Me too. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that on camera, but it's too late.
Yeah. I actually like this. Shane, what's your thoughts on that?
I don't disagree with it. You know, that we need to forge a path forward where we are not at odds with one another, but we're in a position where we can collaborate to make the world better. And I think a lot of that will probably come through family ties. You know, Nico?
Yeah.
I actually don't think no matter what happens, I don't think it's possible. Someone is going to have to, as in previous times, countless times, someone's going to have to suppress one of the giants, and then that giant will go into a slumber for a generational cycle or two,
You think
and
that'll
then
be-
they'll rise again.
You think that'll be the Chinese that suppress one of us?
Either the Russians or the U.S., you mean?
Do I think the Chinese will get involved?
They're already.
Yeah, I do.
Well, do you think the Chinese will be the ones that will actively probably snuff out the United States?
No. I truly believe the Chinese are a paper tiger.
Really?
I do.
Okay.
You're not the first person I've actually heard say that.
I don't think they have
The real
as much
capability.
sway or power as people think.
Yeah.
Well,
And I don't think people give Russia enough credit. I think we see Russia as kind of
has
like
been.
we're like they're bigger than they think,
Yeah.
and we see the Chinese and we're like they're huge.
Yeah.
I think it's reverse. I think the Russians can cause a lot more damage than the Chinese can.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, with that, I think the Chinese have. Okay, I don't even know if I should say that. So yeah, we'll save that for another day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Russians are the largest. Well, you know, I guess so. This is the final thing I'll say about this whole thing.
Okay.
Is I think that we are pawns in a greater battle that's being fought between heaven and the revolutionaries that are waging war against heaven. And I think there's nothing that demons and the fallen angels would love more than for the two largest Christian countries to go to war with one another. You know, because at the end of the day, all that you would end up having, what would the net result be of like the United States and Russia going to war with each other? It would be a lot of dead Christians.
Dead Christians. Correct.
You know, and that is something that the forces of hell would celebrate, you know? And I think ultimately that's what's at play here. And that's why I think anyone that is of goodwill, good conscience, you know, that's in that calls themselves a Christian, I think you should strive more than anything and hope and pray more than anything for peace and collaboration between the Anglosphere and the Slavosphere.
All right.
That's
Well, guys, that was phenomenal.
Shannon, you have a
Oh no,
last thought?
I'm Das Vidanya. Thank you guys for.
Das Vidanya.
We're gonna do
Having
another
me.
one soon before you leave, though, right?
Oh yes,
yes. 100%.
Beautiful. Guys, this was fucking
This is
awesome.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Shane. I've never seen someone be so wrong and still somehow get the right answer. Congratulations.
Listen, I'm always correct,
Yeah.
and thank you for agreeing with me that I was correct.
Do you know where they say
Have a
like
great
show,
night,
show
everybody.
your work on math tests?
Right.
The math teacher's like, "What the fuck did he do?" But he got the right answer somehow. He probably cheated. All right, guys, we love you very much. Talk to you soon.
I'm always correct. It's
All
a
right,
burden and
we're
it's a
done.
responsibility
And
and a
cut.
curse.
And
Peace.
we're done.